Welcome to the Paige Trippin Podcast. I'm Paige, the nervous system coach, neurodivergent mom of four, former educator, and author of Emotional Fire Drills. I'm on a mission to help us all learn to feel safe in our bodies so we can finally unlearn what no longer serves us, to question everything so we can finally grow together. This is our safe place to unlearn, question, and get real AF about the journey to who we are underneath all that noise. It's okay to trip along the way, as long as we keep moving forward together. Let's trip. In this episode of the Paige Trippin Podcast, I talked to Nora Virginia, and she shares her journey from a corporate job to becoming a successful spiritual mentor, business consultant, and life coach, emphasizing the importance of mindset shifts and personal growth. She discusses the challenges of balancing entrepreneurship with motherhood, highlighting the need for self-care and adapting to new routines. Nora also outlines her coaching approach, which combines business strategy with mindset work, and it mentions her mastermind groups for aspiring established entrepreneurs. If you are a person thinking of becoming an entrepreneur or simply just tired of the 9-to-5 job and looking for maybe some more inspiration on how to implement new strategies into your life, then this episode's for you. And I hope you enjoy this one and come along for the ride. This is Nora Virginia, my first ever coach, and I'm so honored to be having her here as my first ever guest episode podcast. Enjoy. Okay, welcome to the Paige Trippin Podcast. I'm Paige Tripp, and we are ready to get real AF, unlearn, and grow here on the podcast. And I'm joined today with the amazing Nora Virginia. I'm going to read your bio because it's badass, so I'm just going to don't want to mess it up. So Nora, is my first original coach. I need to start with that because that is my favorite part. And she's a badass and a great leader. She's a spiritual mentor, a business consultant for entrepreneurs, a certified life coach, soul mastery coach, and a breathwork and meditation facilitator. She's everything. And now a mom. She helps her clients start and scale their business to 6 and multiple 6 figures by blending deep spiritual practices and business strategy guidance. No complex systems or massive following has been required, and Nora has scaled her own brand to consistent multiple 6-figure cash years with a 99% plus client repeat rate, and 97% plus of her private clients go full-time in their business, and many have 5 times their revenue, which is amazing, and have booked contracts up to 100,000 K. That's amazing during their time working with her. And she's also the host of her own podcast, Glow Up to Blow Up, which is ranked in the top 2% of global podcasts, which is phenomenal. So how are you today? Welcome.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me. It's funny because we have since updated, we meaning my assistant and I, she updated my bio clearly.
Yes.
And it's funny. I love her for that, but it's funny hearing it back. Obviously, I just recorded a podcast before this, an intro for it, and it was reflecting on probably some of the stuff that we'll get into today on just like how I left my 9-to-5 and how I built my business. And it is funny because it was 4 to 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And it feels surreal. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm here, right? Because you don't always realize that as well. But why I mentioned that too is I'm sure we'll get into it in this episode, but 4 years is a long time, and it's also not that long at the same time. But I'm just like a big believer in if I can go from where I was to where I am right now, then anyone listening to this podcast can too. So definitely. I'm excited. And thanks for having me. It's so fun.
Of course.
Oh my God, what a trip, no pun intended, right? Like have just being on the podcast with you because I was your first coach, but as you know, you were also my first private client ever.
Yes.
And that's so cool.
And now you're my first interview guest, which is
and I have full body chills.
Thing.
I'm like, look at us now, years and years later, because when did we work together? Like 2021?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
I know. Crazy. I've just been following you too, so I'm like, I love everything you do. I'm like,
thank you. I appreciate
And now
that.
watching you become a mom has been like so cute. I'm like, oh my gosh, I knew she'd be so amazing.
Oh, thank you. I received that.
I love it. All right, so we're just going to dive right in. You talked about if I can go from that to this, anybody
Hmm.
can do it. And so let's talk about that. Where were you before you started your business? And what
Yeah.
was that moment where you were like, I can't live in this anymore?
Yeah, good question. So okay, let me backtrack for a second. So I used to work in corporate America. I did finance for about 8 years, and probably like a lot of the listeners like listening to this podcast, I just always had like that nagging feeling of like I'm not supposed to be here. This isn't my path. This is what other people want. It's not what I want. And it was like, it was never what I wanted was the thing. So I stayed in
Yeah.
my career for almost a decade because I had so much fear around not knowing what I wanted to do next. A lot of things around finances and security, all of that stuff. But what I will say is that like long before I even knew coaching existed, I genuinely just knew that I was meant for more. I would look at all of my coworkers and be like, almost envious of like, I wish I wanted this life. Like life would be so much more simple if I could just like climb the ladder and be happy and want the same things and enjoy finance or accounting or whatever I was doing at the time. And that just wasn't me. So I think that like how I could summarize where I was at is like, I knew I wanted more. I always felt stuck and just had a lot of fear within me because I didn't know what that looked like. And a turning point for me specifically was I really started to feel like it shifted almost like my personality and was making me into someone that I knew that I wasn't. So back in, I guess it would have been 2020, I guess 2021 is when I first started like my coaching certification and all of that. But
Yeah.
right around that time, I was just in a cycle where I was like, okay, I'm like really lashing out on my partner and I'm snapping on my mom and I have a short fuse and I'm like the miserable person that's at their desk and the new hires are coming in. Like, I'm so excited. And I'm like, this place sucks. Like, like I just was like not the person that I wanted to be ultimately.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't know that I had one rock bottom, to be honest. Like, that's what I always tell people is like, there was never, I guess, a single moment. There was like a
Yeah.
combination of moments. And then I think that for me, and this is probably how it is for a lot of people, but I just got really sick of my own bullshit one day where I was just like, being in this story is not serving me. I've been in this cycle so long. I'm like not even liking who I am anymore, if I'm being honest. And I'm
Mhm.
so sick of feeling this way that because I was essentially so miserable, like it was not so bad to make the jump anymore because
Yeah.
I was that miserable. Honestly, like I could have left so many times, and do I wish I started earlier? 100%, but I didn't, and that's okay. But I think that for me, I did have to get to the point where I was like, yeah, I have a lot of fear around doing something else, but
Yeah.
anything is better than where I'm at right now, essentially, which is what made me start my coaching certification and take the first step. And I think that from the beginning, because I was in that space, I didn't have fear around destroying my career, as crazy
Yeah.
as that sounds. I'm like, how did I not have fear around that? Because I spent so long building it, getting my CPA, working the long hours, like weekends,
Yeah.
everything. And I was set up really well at the company that I worked for. It was like the company was blowing up. I had so much opportunity. I was well liked, but I was
Yeah.
like, I actually don't care that I'm blowing up my career right now. And for me, though, that was my intuition telling me at the same time that I was doing the right thing. And I say that because I have so many clients, and I'm sure that you can relate to this too, where you're like, am I crazy? Like, should I be more concerned about my finances? Should I be more like scared that I'm actually investing in this thing? Am I
Yeah.
crazy for just like jumping ship on my career? Like, whatever it looks like for you, it's almost that feeling of like, I feel a sense of peace doing this, but like on paper, I could and I might be crazy. It was that sort
Yeah.
of feeling where I was okay destroying it all, but within me, it actually felt so like peaceful and right to do that. So
Yeah.
that's
And
like a
that's
little bit of a
amazing.
backstory, I guess. We can
For
dig into
sure.
any part of it more, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically where I was. The last thing that I'll say is like a lot of the listeners too,
Mhm.
I did not have the confidence that I do now. So a
Yeah.
big part of why I stayed at my company for so long was I was always really scared of not having a boss. I didn't trust myself enough to have a business at
Yeah.
all. And that was the biggest thing that held me back. And then my boss ended up leaving the company, and I was the only person on our team for like this awkward 4 months. And it was like perfectly divinely orchestrated because that was my worst fear and it happened. And then during those 4 months, I was like, oh my God, the company didn't burn down. I did it. It was fine. I didn't have a boss. And it made me realize, honestly, that I could start my own business too. And from there, it's just been like building trust along the way of knowing that I can figure things out too.
That's awesome. And as you were talking, my first thought that came up was like, I wonder what your biggest unlearning thing
Mm.
was. Like, what was the one thing where you kept tripping up on it, or if you didn't have that drive to go and do this, that you think it would have pulled you back into
Hmm.
going back into your 9 to 5 or getting a different 9 to 5?
Yeah, I guess the biggest unlearning for me, and it still is, to be honest, I think that this
Mm.
comes up in different ways. It's come up in motherhood all over again, which we can talk about. But
Yeah.
for me, it was unlearning that my worth and my confidence was tied to success, performance, money, all of that kind of stuff. So this was like
Yeah.
so deep rooted for me. I'm like one of five girls. I was always like the smart one, the successful one, the hardworking one. And
Yeah.
for a large part of my life, like the biggest battle that I've had to go through in my business with leaving my job was like, I
Mhm.
used to be able to tell people I had this cool finance job and then I quit. And then I was like, I'm a spiritual life coach and I'm making no money for literally 2 years. And that was such like an identity crisis for me too, because again, my worth
Perfect.
was tied to success. And my story in my head was like, I'm enough if I have a good job. I'm enough if I'm making good
Hmm.
money. I'm enough if I'm performing. I'm enough if I'm successful. And that was
Yes.
something that I had one unlearned to like leave my career altogether.
Yeah.
I was making great money, by the way, at the time. Like that was a really big jump for me. But then the
Hmm.
other piece of that too is like building a business is no joke. And I would
That's
have
for sure.
quit. I would have quit a lot, like way early on if
Yeah.
I had not broken that story. So looking back, my hardest part of entrepreneurship was really breaking the link between if I'm having a good month and I sign a client in business, then I'm happy. But if I'm in a dry spell and things aren't
Yeah.
working, then suddenly my world is crumbling down. And I got to a point within my business too that I was like, this isn't fun anymore. Business isn't fun. This is not why I left my career. So I either need to be really like learn to be grateful for every dollar I'm making, every client I
Hmm.
sign, every single day within my business. Otherwise, I'm quitting my business because it's not worth my mental health at the end of the
A
day.
hundred
And
percent.
that was the point where I really started to shift my mindset to be like, I am going to enjoy the process and I'm going to learn to enjoy the process
Mm.
because if I don't enjoy the process, then I'm going back to my 9 to 5 job. And that's just the way it was for me. So it's also supported me just into entrepreneurship too, because I think that people can go so much farther in building their own business if they're not constantly putting so much pressure on themselves to perform, make money, be successful, all that kind of stuff too.
100%. And that hustle culture that, like, if I'm doing more, I'm gonna, I'm worthy. And it
Mm-hmm.
ties so much into motherhood and like every area of life, whether it's, whoever's
Mm-hmm.
listening, whether you're in school, whether you're just starting out as a career, it's like that hustle. Like, if I do more, I'm worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm sure you see in motherhood as well, like you're pulled in multiple directions and you're just like, when is the breaking point? How much can I actually sustain before I burn myself out, and it's like
Yeah.
finding that balance, but you broke through that by just your will, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people struggle with that still where they don't have it. What do you think was the thing that helped you the most with continuing to move forward? Because obviously we know when we're trying to break some kind of conditioning, we get nervous system responses that hold us back. And, the nervous system constantly goes back to what's safe and known. So,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think was the one thing, or if you had to pick one thing that really helped you the most? Because obviously you have a very strong will and you're not a quitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But a lot of people who don't have that in themselves necessarily at this point, what is
Mm-hmm.
a tool or something that you kept with you or brought with you along the journey that was like your saving grace if you had one?
So, such a good question. So, I think that there were two things that I'll point out. So, the first thing that I did and that I still do and that I would tell everyone to do is when it comes to like really looking at your goals, it's never about the tangible, it's not about the external. So,
Mhm.
I think that one thing that we constantly have to come back to, and one thing that I did at the time was like, what do I really want though, right? Like, is it that I want at the time the clients or the 5K months? Or like when I close my eyes and I tune into like, how would I feel if I actually got those things? What I was after was like confidence, gratitude, enjoying my life, peace, ease. All of those things I can actually tap into without ever signing on clients, without ever getting to 5K months. I can look at, okay, if my core desired feeling is confident, then how can I work on cultivating the feeling of confidence every single day? So in that case, it's like I might write down 3 things that I'm proud of every single morning to start to like cultivate that desired feeling that I'm thinking about. Or if it's ease or peace or safety, it's like, okay, well, what things make me feel peace and can I do more of them? So I really focused on tapping into the feeling, and the feeling for me at the time was confidence. And then also just like a weight lifted off of the shoulders, like a sense of like relief, right? So I started cultivating those feelings more. And then side note, if anyone's new to manifestation, it's like, of course, the more you're in that energy and in that feeling, the more you're going to attract things that continue to compound on that feeling. That was the first kind of like body of work or tool. Now, the second thing is with patterns. If we're stuck in a pattern, it just means that the pattern's keeping us safe and comfortable in some way. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be in that pattern. So sometimes there's like a hidden advantage, right? So for me, for instance, like when you think about hustle culture and like needing to do more, what usually that is doing is like there's something, it's protecting you from feeling the unworthiness. I'm not enough, right? Because if I would have thought about like what happens if I pull back, what happens if I do less, what happens if I like hustle less, I would be like, oh my God, then I'm going to feel not enough. And that feeling feels so uncomfortable that I would rather just continue to push through than have to sit with the feeling of unworthiness. So that was kind of like how it was keeping me safe. So what that looked like for me was, one, letting myself, I guess this is another tool, actually inner child healing, sit with, oh, I guess I do feel unworthy. Oh, I guess I don't feel enough. Oh, I guess I, don't believe in myself sometimes. Like, let me actually just sit with that and not need to fix it and actually hold space for myself. And then after that, I think that the big thing that I would tell people of like part 3 of this is you can kind of like play out both scenarios. So if for the rest of my life, I'm constantly chasing external success and I'm doing more and everything's never enough, I can play that pattern forward and I know exactly how my life is going to turn out. And guess what? I'm going to feel the same exact way that I feel now. So if I don't fix what's going on within myself, I can go get another high paying job and I'm still going to be searching for more. I can crush it in my business, but I'm going to still be searching for more. And on the other hand, if I fix that pattern within me and then I play out my life, like what does Nora's life look like when she actually does feel worthy and it doesn't depend on how many clients she has or how much money she's making in her business? What happens if Nora actually feels secure and confident and it doesn't matter if she has a failed launch or, a high cash launch? If I play out that outcome, I get everything that I want. It's not that I don't grow my business, but it's that I feel the way that I want to feel. So those are like that was the third tool I guess I used, and I still use that to this day within myself. Is like constantly playing out like, well, I know if I don't work on this and if I stay in this cycle, fast forward, here's where I'm going to be. But if I change it, fast forward, that's where I'm going to be. And that always really helps me too, because I was very clear on those emotions that I wanted to feel, going back to what I said in the beginning. But then I think that really like understanding what part of it was keeping me safe, feeling those emotions, letting my nervous system actually like that capacity expand through feeling those emotions, and then kind of bringing in the mindset, like I said, of like play out those scenarios helped me to choose the better outcome and the better scenario. And that wasn't just, by the way, that wasn't like I did that on a Tuesday morning and then my business changed. God, I had to work on that for months and months and months, like consistently. So it's not overnight. It was like that period in my business. I was really doubling down on that stuff for, I would say, 3 to 6 months. And that's what helped me. And now I look back, I help so many of my clients with this. And I'm like, thank God I do this, because I could have a launch that doesn't go as planned too and quote unquote flops. I honestly don't give a shit. And I'm just not, I'm like being 100% honest in that. And it's taken me a really long time to get to that point of I know that it doesn't mean anything about me
For sure.
or the future of my business. I'm just like, science experiment, what went wrong? Perfect. Let's change it next time. I don't hold as much weight on like the bad days or the no's or the flopped launches. And again, I've built an incredible business and I still have things that don't go as planned sometimes. So I think that the reason why I've gotten to where I am now is because I've learned how to operate from that lens. Otherwise, again, I would have given up with everything that wasn't working on paper within my business over the past 4 years.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like when you had said, I sat with that feeling of like
Mm-hmm.
unworthiness. That was like one of the first tools that you had me do. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't
Yeah.
want to sit in that fear. I don't want to sit in that worry or that emotion because I had that depression. I was like, I don't want to get
Mm-hmm.
stuck. And you're like, you're not going to get stuck. Like you haven't actually sat in it. You're just feeling it. Like you haven't
Yeah.
been there. And what happens if that happens? Like you have me
Mm-hmm.
really look at the what if. And I thought that was really cool. And you're talking a lot about how you had to really sit with like those limiting beliefs. And I'm curious if in your mastermind big vision, if you've seen very similar ideas come up for
Mm-hmm.
your clients and how, obviously you're giving them these tools already. So is that a common theme you see, or is there a different one that you've seen more common in your clients when you're teaching them how to run a business rather than just like switch out of their 9 to 5? Or are a lot of them coming to you to switch out of their 9 to 5?
Yeah, I would say yes in big vision, but also I work with higher level clients like private coaching, but also I have another mastermind called Scene, and that's for more established business owners. And why I bring
Okay.
this up is because it's not just like newer business owners that this comes up with. I would say that the number one, let me double check this. I think the number one thing I see is people attaching to success in their business. And
Mhm.
it is the entire like story of it's not happening quick enough. Why hasn't it happened yet? A lot of that I will say comes from the finance thing too. So I think that
Yeah.
number one is money and really healing a lot of things that come up with money. But going along with that, that's why there's so much pressure on the business. That's
Yeah.
why when people don't see 6 figures in their first year of business, by the way, it didn't happen for me, 20 grand. Like
Yeah.
that's why when people aren't getting the results quick enough, they quit because there's
Mhm.
pressure and they're attaching to those outcomes. So yeah, I think that that's the biggest thing. And the other biggest thing is just like the whole money thing that comes up with that as well.
Yeah, that's and I'm tying back to what you had said before we chatted about this, about how it's not these quick fixes, that you
Mm-hmm.
had to keep going through it and keep sitting with it. And it didn't just happen overnight, like that shift. So it's that I just want to highlight that in that moment and realize like it's not going to, nothing you do, whether you're unlearning anything big or small or creating a business, is not going to happen overnight. And I'm going to tie now into your motherhood journey, because
Mm-hmm.
in the past we kind of talked about, how becoming a mom, like you did it different than I did it. I started with all the limiting beliefs. I created a family with these limiting beliefs, and now I'm working backwards to fix it. And you
Mm-hmm.
had worked through all of these things and navigated that with going from a 9 to 5 job to creating this beautiful business and now working on yourself. And then you became a mom. Have you
Mm-hmm.
noticed anything during this transition from becoming just a solo entrepreneur to now a family mompreneur? Have you
Mm-hmm.
noticed any beliefs that you had previously worked on or new beliefs come up that you're like, I did not think this was going to be a thing because I had done all the work before, and now
Mm-hmm.
I already have this established business. What things are coming up in this moment that you're like, now I have to either unlearn or just kind of like, even if it's just like a tiny shift that you're like, I did not expect that to come up,
Yeah.
that has come
Good
up.
question. So I'm gonna have to think about this in two-part questions. But what I will start with, so many things. So the thing that I was gonna mention when you were talking about unlearning and how it's not an overnight thing, it's like a very
Yeah.
like consistent thing, is the quote that was like coming to me when you said this was I can't remember who said this, but it's a meditation teacher, and he says that we don't meditate on the days that we need it. We meditate on the days that we don't need it for the days that we do need it, right?
Yeah.
Meaning that, like, a lot of these tools that you and I teach, it's not just let me pull it out when I have a bad day. It's like, oh, when I'm having a good day, can I still be consistent with this? Because those are the things those are the days that are going to actually get you through the bad days. So I wanted to mention that. Now, if I'm being totally honest, like another part of this whole unlearning is also breaking the expectation that it's not going to come back again. And I think that that's something that we all have to get
And that
over.
perfectionist,
Oh
like,
my
it's going to be
God.
perfect. I'm never going to
Yeah,
feel
this
sad
is
again.
another thing that I talk about with my clients too. And they're, oh, I'm so annoyed. I thought that I already dealt with this. I'm like,
Yeah.
welcome to our human experience of there's a deeper layer, girlfriend. So yes, all the same pattern has actually come up like in motherhood too. And I'm working with a therapist right now actually, and same exact thing where it's like, oh, perfect. This is all tracing back to I don't feel enough. I don't feel worthy. Great. And then it's like, she's like, okay, now what does it feel like? Right? Exactly what I said. When you go there, I'm like, I don't want to go there though, because
Yep,
it
you
feels
watched me multiple times be
uncomfortable.
like, this is ridiculous. Like in the moment, you're like,
Yes.
it's so ridiculous as you say it out loud, but it's a real visceral experience that you're going to navigate
Yeah,
every
and
day.
it's a normal response to just be like, oh, and I'm just gonna like also push through it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that those things have come up, and honestly, like the medicine is really similar. I think that I
Yeah.
definitely have a better perspective, and that I think that I'm pretty aware most of the time, maybe not 100% of the time, that like this season is a gift. Like it's one of the most
Yeah.
challenging seasons I've ever had. But I know that on the other side of it is like a better life and a better version of me and all of the things, right? So I do have
Yeah.
that awareness. It doesn't make it like suck less in the moment. But
Perfect.
I think that the tools end up being the same of like, okay, now I have to like go sit with this feeling all over again. And I thought that I was past it, and that's
Yeah.
annoying, but it's also a deeper layer is what I'll say. And it's part of our
100%.
human experience. So I think that to answer the first part of your question, yes, it's come up. And again, it's important to remember that these things don't go away.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we just learn to deal with them a little bit better. So I guess that's something I'm proud of is like my comeback rate is quicker, right? The things that I
Yeah.
used to sit in for weeks and months, now maybe I only sit in for a few days or something like that. So it's
Yeah.
not that these things don't come up, it's just I'm better at dealing and coping with them. And I think that the second question, I mean, there's been a million new things that have come up, I'm sure, but what I will say about like new things that have come up is I think that I used to have more time, obviously, to journal on some of these things and
Yes.
to heal them. And now it's like I constantly feel like I'm at capacity, obviously. So I
Yes.
don't have the time to journal and meditate that I used to. And I hate to like be that person that's
For
like, I
sure.
don't have time. It's not like that. It's just like, no, the reality is that I used to journal for an hour and now I might journal for 10 minutes. So
For
I
sure.
think that I've had to really learn how to again prioritize my mental health, my happiness, which isn't
Yeah.
easy. But one thing that's been helpful for me is, you know, in my business, I always knew like my clients like benefit most when Nora's happiest. So like my clients aren't going to benefit when I'm responding
Yeah.
to them when I'm having a bad day just because I'm trying to check it off the list. My
Exactly.
clients are going to benefit when I'm filling up my cup first. And it's like
Yeah.
having to kind of relearn the same thing as it relates to being a mom, where right now I'm working 3 days a week. And there's been days where I'm like, okay, I'm actually working 1 day a week or 2 days a week because that third day I really like just need for myself. And I think
Yeah.
that it's been a practice of like, oh, well, I'm paying for childcare on that day, but it's also okay if I go to the gym and meditate and do no work. And sometimes that's what I really need. So I know
Exactly.
that not everyone obviously like has that ability
For
either.
sure.
As like, again, I only have her a few days a week, but I will say on the other days, I just have to get more creative, and part of that creativity is catching the inner dialogue, I think. So yeah, we
Yeah.
can do walking meditations and stuff, but honestly sometimes when we're like really having a bad day, we're like, I don't feel like doing this meditation. So I think for me the biggest thing that I have learned to do is really pay attention to my inner dialogue and try to uh shift it like in
Yeah.
real time. So it's like, okay, for instance, we're in like Caden does not sleep right now. And I'm like, oh my God, he's 6 months
Oh,
and the
I don't
sleep has
miss that.
gotten so much worse and not better, right? And it's been really
Yes.
challenging. But I'm
100%.
like, okay, well, I'll do this real time where I'm like, okay, so he's not sleeping ever, I'm not sleeping ever, but he's really happy and he's not crying all day, even though he's really tired.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna take
it's
that
a
as a
win.
win. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I've gotten a lot better at that. Or I'm like, it's really hard doing the harder doing the podcast now being a mom. And
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm like, well, this is giving me an opportunity to explore what new things do I want to talk about. So I guess, like, what I've learned to do is like, this is how I'm feeling and this type of thing. And it's not like toxic positivity because I'm
For sure.
definitely have, trust me, just felt all of the things. But I've realized that kind of what I said in the beginning of this episode is I think that I've gotten to a point over the past couple months where I'm like, I'm kind of getting like sick of feeling this way though. So I have to start to change the story because I'm just getting
Yeah.
like sick of honestly feeling like sitting in it.
100%.
And now I'm ready to change it type of
Yeah,
thing.
and I like to tell my clients, like, get curious, not judgmental. Like,
Yes.
if you're
Love
gonna sit in
that.
judgment, you're just hurting yourself. Like, we
Exactly.
get addicted to those, negative feelings. It's actually physically an addiction in our body. Like, it's releasing these
Mm-hmm.
hormones. But you had said prior to this that, like, we're gonna push through sometimes. Like, you have to push through. But like the thing that I'm seeing with you and a lot of, like, obviously what we do is everybody has to push through, right? We have
Mm-hmm.
to push through if we want to keep going. But the difference is whether you have tools to push through or you're going to continue to
Mm-hmm.
struggle without those tools. It's like, just decide,
Yes.
do you want to have some tools to help you? And that, or not. Like, that's really as
Such a good
simple as it
point.
is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting. I'm curious because obviously now you have all these tools and now you're a mom. Would you have done something different if you were a mom, like, to create this, leave your 9 to 5, if you were still in a 9 to 5 when you became a
Mm-hmm.
mom, how would you have navigated that? Let's just keep it open ended. Like, how would you have navigated that if you had the old stories, if you had Kaden when were in the 9 to 5?
Yeah.
How would you have
So,
navigated that?
okay, there's two things. There's more of like a mindset thing, and then there's like a tactical thing. So, one
Yeah.
thing that also just keeps me going, but what I would have told myself at the time too, because there's a lot of like, I think in the beginning for me, it was a lot of like, for what I was doing specifically, showing up on social media was new, putting myself out there was new. Like,
Yeah.
that stuff would have been a lot harder if I was a new mom or just a mom in general. Now, one thing that I think I would have gone back and told myself had I had not like made the jump earlier is that I'm setting an example every single day. And I still
Yeah.
think of that too. So I think that like when it's hard to chase your own dreams, it's like, we can't tell our kids to chase their dreams if we're not
Yeah.
chasing our dreams type of thing.
For
It's like
sure.
really living and being the example that you want them to learn rather than just talking about it type of thing. So
Mhm.
oftentimes, even when I'm still having hard days, I have that conversation with myself of like, okay, well, what would I tell him to do? What would I want him to do? And how can I
Yeah.
like push myself to do that and to set that example? So that's kind of a mindset
Beautiful.
thing. And if I had gone back, the other thing that I want to point out too is, and this might be a different outlook than some people have, but I would not have been able to take the risks that I would have taken.
Yeah.
And I think that I was in a really great position because I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have a family, none of that was relevant. And
Yeah.
I had a lot of savings in the beginning too. So I was able to jump ship from my career earlier than I would actually advise most people to do. So
Yeah.
even now, like if I, was looking back at myself, I think that a lot of people that are starting businesses and especially moms, it's like sometimes we put pressure on ourselves to like leave the job and just build a business, but most people's nervous system is not
Do
made for
that.
that and can't handle that.
For
And I
sure.
tell this to even clients sometimes that I just start working with. I'm like, look, like other people might not tell you this, but I see this as really like your nervous system is, struggling. And I
Mhm.
think it would help your business to actually get some side income. And I'm not afraid to tell people that too, just because I think that there's a narrative of like,
Yeah.
we have to like either do one versus the other. It's
Yeah.
funny, I have this conversation all the time where I'm like, there's the narrative of like stay at home mom versus working mom. Like it's one or the other. It's like, why can't we be both? Why can't we
Exactly.
have a 9 to 5 and be a business owner? Why can't we be both? And I think
Yeah.
that I would just like give yourself grace. Like, of course, you're worried about finances probably and nervous about that making the jump.
Exactly.
obviously, who wouldn't be? Like, I would say maybe you're a little crazy if you're not, like, and you have a baby or
100%.
a kid. So I would just say, have people, keep their jobs if they have a job. Give themselves more
Yeah,
wiggle room. Like, that's the best place to invest from. That's the best thing I ever did is I did
for sure.
overlap for a year, and that was why I was able to invest in so many business programs is because I was still making money at my other job, and it would have been
Okay.
harder to do that otherwise. So I just want to be honest in that like my circumstances were different, but if I was starting a business and I was in this stage right now, I
Yeah.
would have income to support me. I would not just make the jump like cold turkey because I
Yeah,
don't
so
think
many
that I
people
would
online talk
do that
about that
either.
in
Yeah.
the toxic ways. Like, just, go all
Yeah.
in. If you're not going in, you're just like,
Yeah.
like you said, the nervous system can't handle it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just that, and like you talk a lot about like the toxic positivity, which I never experienced one with you when you first started out as my coach. Like, it was
Oh,
very
thanks.
like instantly it was all of like, you're nervous. If your nervous system's not ready, it took me actually a year, I think, to invest with you because I was
Yeah,
like,
true.
I don't think I'm worthy of using my family's money for this job,
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
same thing went through when I started my business as well, which, that mindset of like, I am the full-time caregiver for my family. Like, I am doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to fit this in? And it's terrifying. And the question that I'm curious, like you had said, like you tell your clients to like they're not going to like jump right into it. Maybe they need some side,
Mm-hmm.
hustle to get some more money. Um, have you worked with a lot of moms, and how has becoming a mom changed has it changed the way you interact with them, or is it something that you're just like, no, it's still pretty solid across the board of how I navigate this now?
Yeah. So it's funny. It's almost like I was like attracting moms once I got pregnant or something. Cause I do have quite a bit of clients that are moms and I did before I had Kaden and
Yeah.
even a little bit before I got pregnant. But what I will say is that I don't think that necessarily my coaching has changed. I would say as a coach, I've probably softened a little. And I
Mm,
think that because I could not fully understand before I was a mom. So, like
for
time
sure.
constraints and just stuff like that. Like, I could say, like, oh, I get it, but like, I didn't really get it. I wasn't a mom yet.
For
So,
sure.
I think that now I do obviously, I just understand more. And I just think that that goes a really far way of just like being seen by your coach. Cause there's a lot of even coaches, like as I look at like business coaches for myself, there's a lot of people that are like, they're building empires and that I love that for them. But like that
Yeah.
doesn't resonate with me and where I'm at right now. Like my values have changed a lot, is what I'll say, where I'm like,
Okay.
I don't need to, blow up the world with my business. Like, yeah, I want to make great money. I want as much time as possible with my family
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily resonate with people that like don't have those same values anymore. So I think that my coaching has felt a little bit, I guess it has changed a little bit more where I definitely am really focused lately on like coaching people on like, okay, what is the lifestyle that you want though? Not what do you
Yeah.
think you want based on what you're seeing on social media? And can we build your business based on the lifestyle that you want? So that's a
Yeah.
conversation I have way more often than I used to with my clients. And then I
I
think
love that.
that the other thing, let's see, I was losing my train of thought on the whole mom thing. I
Story
think
of my
that,
life.
yeah, right. The lifestyle thing has been big. And then going along with that, like simplicity. Like I've always been
Mm,
about like helping people to like work smarter, not harder. And like, can we just be really dialed in at like, okay, this is what you want. Now these are the actions that we have to take and we can't get
yeah.
distracted on them. And that's been a bigger part of my coaching as well too, of like, as a mom, you don't have time to like waste for years and years and
Yeah.
years. And it shouldn't be throwing spaghetti at a wall. Like I'm a big believer as well in like structure, simplicity, system, strategy. None of it's
Yeah.
complex, but it's like there's a formula for business, right? It's like
For
we
sure.
can deny it and make our lives harder, or we can just like again say this is my goal and this is how I'm going to get there and stay focused and get there. And I'm really big on doing that too with my clients, especially my mom clients, just because I realize how
Mhm.
precious time is. So it's like once they tell me like, oh, this is how many hours I want to work and this is where I want to eventually get to, it's like, okay, then can we dial in and say hyper focused on this thing instead of doing these 100 things and just like crossing our fingers that one of them is going to get us there type of thing.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, just being a mom, the noise, the external noise is so loud. And then when you
Mm-hmm.
go into business as well, there's so many conflicting,
Mm-hmm.
beliefs and navigating. I love how you fuse the spiritual aspect, the, meditation and mindfulness aspects. And so just to get a little bit lighthearted more, what
Yeah.
is one humorous transition, like through your transition back into the workforce after being a mom, that you catch yourself laughing at, that you're like, okay, all this noise, all these things like catch me up. And it's like, you didn't think it was going to be something that you either had come up or navigate, like a lot of things for me in the sense of, let me try to make it a little simpler. I have this question. I'm like, why is it so hard to say? I catch myself laughing when I transitioned from being a working mom to a stay-at-home mom. And I started to then like
Mm.
interact with other adults like me. And I'd be like, I didn't realize how much my vocabulary was going to shrink. And so I would be like talking to people like, I feel like I forgot how to speak to you. Like normally what I
Mm-hmm.
spend my day saying is like, do you have to go potty? So I'm curious if there's any humorous thing that you catch yourself while you're transitioning back into the workforce that you're like, oh crap. I know there's one that I have that I saw you post on a while ago, but
Ooh,
I'm
I'm
curious
curious
of
to
what you
hear
were
what
going
it
to
was.
say.
Okay, so I'm having different ideas. By the way,
Yeah.
I 100% relate to what you said, where I'm not like solely stay-at-home mom, and I don't even have toddlers yet, but there's been plenty of times where like we went to a wedding like 4 months later, and I was like, did I develop social anxiety? Why is it so hard to have conversations? And I
Yes.
felt that a few times actually, and I lose my train of thought all of the time now. This is why podcasting has been more challenging, because I'm like, what, like my nanny was asking me last week, she's like, why has it been hard, do you think? And I'm like, because I'm talking, and then I'm like, what am I even talking about 2 seconds
Yeah.
later? So anyways, all that to say is I relate to that. I think that, so initially where my mind went was like, the biggest surprise for me, one of the biggest surprises, like the lighthearted one, was I have a boy, so just how much I got peed on was hilarious. So that was one that threw me for a loop. But I think that the one that's like LOL to me is I literally thought genuinely that I was going to like just bounce, go back into my business like nothing ever changed.
Yeah.
And now I look at myself and I'm like, I was so naive to think that I would have this big life event and then I would just be like the same person in my business
Oh yeah.
specifically. Like it's actually comical that I had that expectation. So
Yeah.
it's so funny because like what makes me laugh the most is all of the things that I was most nervous about have not been bad at all.
For
And then
sure.
the things that I thought were going to be so easy I have found to be the most challenging. So like for example, I thought I was going to struggle in the newborn stage, like the early beginning, like lack of sleep and waking up.
Yeah.
And I look back and I'm like, wow, those 3 months were magical and peaceful. And like
I
I
love
was
that.
so worried about them and I loved it so much. It was so
It was
amazing.
such a great, yeah, those are great moments.
And then I
Not for a lot
thought
of
that,
people, but
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought it was going to be the worst. People are
yeah.
probably like, is she insane? But like, I'm like, I didn't
Yeah.
mind waking up. I loved the fresh newborn stage. It didn't feel chaotic. It just felt so awesome. Probably
Yeah.
hormones. And I thought transitioning back into my business was going to be the easy part, and it's been opposite. And
Well,
like I even struggled going back into my business and working. I had to work through like guilt and shame and all of that. So I guess I know you said lighthearted. Maybe this isn't
that's
lighthearted,
still lighthearted
but it's
to me.
actually, it is lighthearted in
It's
that like
realistic,
it's a
right?
reminder of like the things that I was worried about were fine, and then the things that I didn't worry about like were quote unquote not fine.
Yeah.
So the worrying was so irrelevant.
Yeah. I know the one that cracked me up that you posted was when you posted about how you leaked breast milk while you were on a
Oh,
client call. And I was just like dying laughing. I was like, so mom.
oh my God. The other thing, yes, the other thing that I would say on that note is just how much I just like am like degaff.
What?
Like the wedding I went to, I used to be like nails, hair appointment, spray tan. I have my dress picked out, and I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
like, now everything that I like used to do in that area, I'm just like, Kaden is always looking perfect. I am always looking like a mess. I'll go
Oh
to my
yeah.
workout classes and be like, I might leak in this jumping exercise. I might leak with my breast milk. I actually just don't care though. I'm not going to be like whatever
Yeah.
type of thing.
And
So
it's so
yeah,
true. That's a stigma so many people say, like, oh, look at the messy mom. But it's like, it's not that we're messy. It's that we just don't give a fuck anymore what you think.
exactly.
Like,
I'm just like,
excuse my
I've
language, but we
bigger
don't.
fish to fry. Yeah, bigger fish to
Exactly. I
fry.
used to spend
So
so long getting ready for things, and I'm like, I thought it was like, oh, I'm just bad. Like, oh, I'm just lazy. I don't care about myself. I was like, no, I'm like self-preserving,
exactly.
taking care of my energy. Like, what's important? Like, we still look amazing when we are a
Yeah,
hot mess,
I
right?
almost messaged you this morning and I would almost ask you, I was like, is this going to be video? Because it's going to depend on how I can roll up.
I
It
love
was
it.
funny. Yeah, I'm always
Well, I
checking
like that we're
that.
both wearing white too. I was like, we
Exactly.
didn't plan it, but we're just in the mom vibe. I
Yes.
love it.
Yes,
All
exactly.
right. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about your masterminds and,
Yeah.
anybody who is wanting to start a business or into it, like what levels do you work with and what do you want
hmm
people to know about coming to work with you?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to
So
have fun.
yes, obviously. Okay, so the biggest thing that I would say about working with me is, and something I'm really proud of and always thinking about, is like none of my clients are ever a second thought or a number. So do I do
Mhm.
group programs? Yes. Um, is it ever like, oh, you're a number and I don't know what your name is and what you do for your business? Absolutely not. So I would say like my coaching is very high touch in that like I'm really proud of the fact that like even with my mastermind girls, it's like right now at least I know like their family dynamics. Like that's how much I know about them.
Love that.
So for my coaching in general, like I think that one of the biggest things is like we are partners in crime. Like it's not like you're just randomly coming to ask me questions. It's like whether I like to admit it or not, I'm constantly thinking about everyone else's businesses. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very like partnership focused. I have two different masterminds. One is Big Vision, that's more for early stage entrepreneurs that have a goal of hitting like consistent 5K months in the near term. And then Seen is my higher level mastermind that's for established business owners that are already at that part but are wanting to scale more to like multiple six figures. So those are kind of like the two levels. And then I have private coaching, which I work with clients across the board on. For all of my coaching, I would say it's kind of what we talked about. It is simple business strategy. Like none of it's crazy complex. It's like once you learn it, it's autopilot type of thing. And then that's kind of one portion. The other portion is identity work, mindset, manifestation, confidence. I'm a big believer in both because I think that if you only have strategy, you're not
Yeah.
going to get as far because a lot of the times you're asking a strategic question and I'm like, you're asking me what to do for your launch plan, but underneath it, I'm actually feeling that you're just scared of failing. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that we have to talk about, not the nitty gritty details of the launch.
For
And then on
sure.
the other hand, sometimes I know for me at least, I leaned so far into the mindset, the manifestation with zero strategy. And that held me back for like years, if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
just because I'm like, oh my God, I made it so much harder for myself just trying to like feel good and like make, my own rules and like all of that other kind of stuff that like if I would have just implemented some strategy, it would have made it easier. So I really do fuse both of those things. And the biggest component of all of my work and my coaching is like, it's really about becoming her first, meaning it's about focusing on the vision that you want. Who is the version of you in that vision? We have to become her first, because if you're not her, then
Yeah.
you're not going to stay consistent with the action taking and the strategy. You might get a result, but you're not going to be able to sustain it. So it's really about the identity component first. And from that place, you sprinkle on the strategy and everything gets to blow up. So both masterminds are enrolling right now. Big Vision is, yeah, they're both open enrollment. What I'll say is Big Vision is even more high touch right now. I'm going to start to scale it in the fall.
Yeah.
So if anyone is interested, it's a good time to jump in because both of the masterminds, I haven't sold them at all in
Okay.
almost a year. So they're small.
Yeah.
Like they're all like literally 3-4 people, which I love because we get to go
Yeah.
like super deep with people as well.
And if people want to enroll or get in touch with you, what is the best way to do
Great
so?
question. So you can do, best way to contact me is at I am Nora Virginia. So Nora,
Which will be in the show
Nora,
notes.
yes. And
Yeah.
then Virginia, like the state. And then you can also go to noravirginia.com and it'll have like all of the different ways to work with me. I also have tons of like freebies and really like low ticket workshops and stuff like that are more digital courses. And then podcast is obviously Glow Up to Blow Up. We do tons of things around, I have meditations on there, but also it's a lot of themes now about motherhood, which could be interesting to your clients as well.
Yes.
And then a lot of like business strategy and identity stuff as well.
Amazing. And as we wrap this up, what is one takeaway, if you can give everybody listening a unlearning or growing piece of advice, what is the one thing you would like them to walk away with?
I would love everyone to walk away with just the remembrance of a lot of the times what we learn is that we're logic. We're supposed to get results at this time. We're supposed to be here by this time. There's a huge timeline in our head. And a lot of the times, like society says, and we start to say, if I don't meet this by this timeline, then it's not going to work. And what I would challenge everyone to do is to unlearn that and start to create the narrative of lawn haul energy. If I make the choice to literally never give up, then I'm always going to get what I want. It doesn't matter if it takes 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, 16 years. I'm in it and I'm committed. And as long as you relearn that mentality, like your dreams are truly inevitable because you've just made the choice to never give up. So how could they not be?
Beautiful. I love it. We're going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for being here with me and being my first interview guest on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored
for everybody to hear this and go work with Nora because she's badass.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today on the Paige Trippin Podcast. I hope today's episode gave you a new perspective or a moment of, yes, I'm not alone in this. Remember, this journey of unlearning and feeling safe in your body isn't meant to be a solo trip. It's a process that requires support, guidance, and a safe community. If you're ready to move past just listening and actually start doing the deeper work of nervous system regulation, I'm here to help. My signature group coaching program, Emotional Fire Drills, is where we apply the tools we talk about here in a structured, supportive environment. We work together to help you build resilience and regulation skills you need to navigate life with more ease. If this sounds like the right next step for you, head to the link in my bio to learn more and see how we can start working together. I can't wait to connect with you next time. Remember, if you have topic suggestions, questions, or guests you'd like to have on the podcast, drop them in the comments or email me at paigetrippin1@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow the podcast, rate and review it to keep the podcast's mission growing. Thank you for unlearning and growing with me, and remember to keep tripping with intention. Until next time.